decided to film in Montauk, New York because we always wanted to just drive and drive until we reached the end. Montauk is the end. That may just be your new beginning. Just 100 miles east of New York City, there is a place where you can settle in for a day, a week, or a month. It's a place where you can participate in the diverse liveliness of people or the peacefulness of nature. Escape from the boundaries that define you. Shop, meditate, eat, sleep, explore, swim, boat, have a massage, do some yoga, or just listen to the waves breaking on the shoreline and just be you. Push your boundaries a little further east, in Montauk.
It was just like heritage and kind of like rebellious, you know, like I was 18 years old or 19 years old or something. It's more like a rebellious thing, but also for our heritage.
Okay, my first tattoo was when my dad died. Well, I was 13, so my mother said I couldn't get a tattoo until I was 18. So the first tattoo I got when I was 18 was this tattoo on my foot, which was supposed to mean father in Chinese, because back in my era, we did Chinese symbols. And it didn't mean father, because every time I got a pedicure, the Chinese ladies would laugh and they would say, ha ha ha, what does that mean? It means older male, like a grandpa. So it looks like I put my grandpa on my foot, but I didn't. It was from my dad.
My first tattoo, I got it on my lower back. I was 18. I got a dolphin. And it was very basic. It wasn't the greatest tattoo. After a while, I went to a different country. I went to Guatemala, and I got some things added on it, like water around the dolphin. And then, you know, like a few years ago, like 2-3 years ago, I decided it was like, I didn't like it at all anymore. It was something that I got when I was young. It wasn't something that I had any connection with. So I decided to do a whole cover up of it. And then I got, it's a rose, and then around it there's 2 birds, and then the names of my kids. So that has more meaning to me than what it used to be, and now I can look at it again because I couldn't even look at it anymore.
Okay, so my first tattoo was a dragon on the lower forearm, and it was just kind of a thing that I wanted to do because I turned 19 and I'd always wanted tattoos. And my friend told me about this tattoo artist, really great, and she was like, he's running a deal, so go in to get it. And the dragon was the only one that really kind of, I guess, grew on me, because I always saw like all these old historical Japanese guys with dragon tattoos, and I was like, let me get it.
When I was 20, I said I want to get a tattoo because I was having some life-changing. So I got a warrior fairy, which is kind of like a juxtaposition, but it's a fairy that has like a suit of armor on, standing in the water, which is kind of just like, I felt like I needed something watching my back at that point. I was young, I was in school, I was in between a transition in my life, and it was always something I would have with me that reminded me of that time, and it still does. That was 15 years ago or so, and I still remember getting it. I remember the pain. It took about 5 hours. The guy was a smoker, thank God, because every 30 minutes he would stop to go smoke a cigarette. I was sitting on like a gym bench, like where you would lift weights on, forward, and I could barely get up after. I was shaking. My brother was like, you got this. He got a tattoo while he was waiting. And it was just like, you gotta be tough. You can't complain. I didn't cry. It was like, the only way I can describe my first tattoo was like the release of every emotion you've ever had. It doesn't hurt. It's like everything you've ever had bottled up is taken out through that needle. That pain is like, feels amazing, and then it's all over, and then, you know, it's gone from there, yeah.
First tattoo I went and got was the roses under my arm. It was actually off of a sticker from a skate company. Me and my girlfriend at the time went together. I got the 3 on my arm and she got 1 on her foot, so it was kind of like you know, something that we shared together. Yeah, it was just a very personal time in my life. My parents were very surprised by it, but I always knew I was going to have pretty much covered in tattoos, so it's the start of a very long journey.
Yeah, I got my first tattoo when I was about 31. I never wanted a tattoo ever before. I didn't want to put any ink on my body. But then after like an important event in my life, I guess, I it changed. It was after a breakup, after a 3-year long breakup, and it was a sentence that I had written actually in my diary that meant a lot to me. It's kind of personal, but the meaning behind it, but it says in Swedish, it says I min svindel blir världen självklar. So that means ish, in my bliss the world makes sense or becomes clear to me. In my vertigo, the world comes clear.
My first tattoo, I was 17 years old in Venezuela, where it's not illegal to get a tattoo when you're 17. And it was a friend of mine who was starting out also as a tattoo artist, and you know, as any young dumb teenager would think, you know, it's like I want a skull with a rose and fire, and like, you know, we all wanted to be rockers or whatever it was. So that was the gist of it. I mean, there was in my head a little bit of like, you know, there was a certain symbolism of like passion and you know, and the intensity of passion, where like the flames and the rose and as a representation of that. But you know, the first one's always like, as the beginning one is generally one you look back and be like, oh, I wish I would have done.
We were invited to stay at the Montauk Beach House, located right in the heart of downtown Montauk, New York. The Montauk Beach House is a boutique hotel that is a short stroll to Montauk's shops, restaurants, and cafes. After a daytime of activity, or not, evenings here are for making memories, sitting around a fire with your favorite cocktail, made by our expert mixologists, dancing to the sounds of our DJ, and relaxing with friends. Summertime programs provide you with musical performances, art exhibits, and unique shopping opportunities to keep you inspired and busy. We invite you to take a different path and have a unique alternative summer here at the Montauk Beach House.
So that one's fun because most of my family and I grew up mostly in Buffalo. So I moved here 11 years ago, well, to Manhattan, and so I have like Manhattan and Buffalo starred in New York City. Yeah, and I did that with my gay husband back home, you know.
The knuckles are really like a very literal journey of life, right? CCS, the airport symbol for Caracas, where I was born, in Venezuela. Miami, where I've kind of spent a good chunk of my younger years and then living and then growing up, and then New York City, NYC, where, you know, where I met my, you know, my ex-wife, mother to my son, and, you know, and it had a lot of, professionally for me, New York, like, is kind of where my career, like, developed and has taken me to where I'm now. And then, you know, that's the next journey. We don't know yet. No, I think that's gonna be West Coast. Okay. Haven't been able to define that yet. That's why it's, you know, but I'm working on it.
And I have a Wayward Bound ship. That is for my uncle and my grandfather. They were both in the military, and I have a lot of other family and friends that are in the military. And it's just in hopes that they all make it back safe and they come back okay.
Swallows in say, in American tattoo culture and traditional American and, you know, sailor culture have a great meaning, which is that of you know, swallows, for one, always like generally fly out to sea in pairs, but it has the meaning of returning home, right? Because swallows don't venture far away from the shore. So when sailors see swallows, it means they were close to land, or that, you know, that coming home, right?
Saudade, it's Portuguese. It's for the love that remains. I have a lot of people in my life that maybe I haven't kept up with, and a lot of people that I've loved and really changed my life, and I felt that that was something that could symbolize that. Portuguese came from one of my ex-roommates, and, you know, she meant a lot to me. She was like a little sister. So she wanted Portuguese, and we both got it.
And then the evolution of tattoos is kind of where it gets interesting. That's why I haven't, like, you know, done a cover up as other people do. I think, you know, tattoos are tattoos. You know, they can be shitty, they can be not, they can be great. Doesn't matter. I mean, it's part of your life, part of your story. That's where I got my second tattoo, which was around the first one, around the skull, and it was that to me was kind of like the first one, where it was a kind of like a conscious approach to tattooing, and it, you know, it was thought out and had meaning, and I worked with the artists and you know, in kind of interpreting kind of like a lion's mane in like tribal lines and stuff, and you know, born in July, Leo, you know, kind of like starting to obtain meaning in the ink.
I have a koi fish going upstream, which means its meaning behind it is like you're fighting the current. I was having a lot of problems at home and a lot of problems at work, so I really wanted to get something that kind of like gave me kind of strength to like get through it. And it kind of goes with the dragon, because the story goes that when the koi fish swim upstream, they become a dragon when they reach the top of the waterfall. So that was kind of hand in hand. I have a phoenix on the inside of my arm.
Okay.
That was kind of, it's a sign of rebirth. I had a really troubled time growing up, and I just recently got a really good job and got my credit good and everything, and I'm in a good place. So that was kind of like commemorate that, you know, I'm finally getting to where I want to be in life and how I want my life to become.
The hearts of my arm, those came later. You know, in that evolution and kind of spiritual journey of my ink, it also kind of coincided with my journey is into understanding spirituality and what it evolved into my philosophy today, which I follow, which to me, let's say the purest interpretation, or my interpretation of the purest form or feeling that you can get to God is love, right? And that's where these came from, and they were kind of that growth, right? From the tactile world, from everything that we touch and do and see and feel as it evolves into your inner self. So that's kind of where the growing hearts came from, and their placement and stuff. You know, it was kind of like that journey up into the heart where like love or spirit resides.
My other tattoo I did maybe just a year after. The most important people in my life is my mother and my two sisters. I have one older sister who's 2 years older, and then a younger one who's 10 years younger. But they all mean a lot to me, and I get they're like my energy source of love and meaning. And I wanted it close to my heart, so I put it here, a shape of a diamond with two other shapes inside. So the big one is my mom, and then it's my older sister, the second big one, and the smallest shape inside is my baby sister. And I just, yeah, mentally and like, I guess spiritually, mentally, that shape, and knowing that they're close to my heart. Since they live in Sweden, I live in New York. I get my power through them.
So the other tattoo that I have, me and my husband wanted to do, he has tattoos also, so we wanted to do something together or something that had a connection. We decided to do a lock and a key. So I have the lock on my foot, and it's in the form of a heart, and he has the key on his foot. So, you know, we both, you know, I tell him that he has the key to my heart.
And through that time, I had a boyfriend who was in the club scene, horrible person, but I got this after that because I wore my heart on my sleeve with him. So every time I look at it, I know, don't wear your heart on your sleeve because you'll get hurt. So that's that.
Another custom piece, a friend of mine is a silk screener. He makes t-shirts, and he did a piece with For the one I have on my neck that said "Real Friends Stab in the Front." It's an homage to loyalty, to friendship. Your real friends will never hurt you. If they're gonna do anything, they're gonna stab you in the front. They're gonna tell you who they are. So I got that by a custom tattoo artist who's based out of Atlanta. She actually came up to do the tattoo. She's a friend. I've never been tattooed by someone I didn't know. And my brother loved it, so he ended up getting the same one on his arm. So we have like a loyalty family tattoo, and it says "True Love" in Latin on the bottom.
Any tattoos that you regret?
Yes, yes. I have one on my stomach that I got with somebody who I thought was American, but they said they were Italian, Russian, but it turned out they were con artists, America's Most Wanted. And we went to Pennsylvania, and we thought we had a bond, we got engaged, and we're living the life, and we got a tattoo of a heart with a tribal thing around it. We both have it to this day. And that tattoo is the only tattoo with you-know-who that I regret.
The next one I went to the same artist, and he did, it was actually after breaking up with the girlfriend that I got these roses with. It kind of was another pivotal point in my life where I realized that my family was the most important, and so I asked the same artist to do something of like an angel looking over my family. Not the most creative, but that's what I had, and he portrayed this horrible angel with big breasts, and it just was really, really bad. And I carried that for about 5 years and finally got a cover-up done, which is the shark and the giant squid with the ship in the background to cover it up. So I was ready to let go of the big-breasted angel and move on to something that I want to.
What was the reason for the shark and the squid?
Not necessarily a reason that I had to have a shark and a squid. I just kind of like the idea of like death do us part, fighting to the death, and everything I do is all heart, and I try to do it with everything I have, and if today's my last day, then I'm going out with everything I got. Yeah, like I said, I thought that's a good, hopefully if anybody can watch and learn, like, don't get a big titty angel on your shoulder involved with your family, then I saved somebody from the misery I went through, so.
Birthday, I just turned 30, and the yin and the yang is like my devil and my angels that are sitting on my shoulder because I am a Gemini. So I got the Gemini and everything, like significance, we just I want to remember that. The main thing about all of my tattoos is I never see any of them. I don't want to see them. They make something that like I have S1E6, which is really like spinach and sunscreen. It means something to my best friend, and also I just got this for my other best friend's birthday. We're like a triangle, so she got this. I got 3 at the same time. I couldn't help it, so I don't know. I like them when I feel the energy, and I really want to, like, I don't know, label myself as something that's meaningful in my life. So
I started my spiritual journey, which was yoga, which completely saved me. So I got a namaste because that is like Zen and keeps you you're grounded and all that. 1111 was next because in the spiritual world you see 1111 and someone who passed and they show that they're with you. So that was that. And on my other spiritual this year is love and light, because in my world you send love and light to people that need it. If you need that little pickup, it's like I'm sending you love and light. It's like a prayer. So that was that.
And and that idea has evolved then into like others, till death do us part, and this, in that same kind of philosophic journey, this one is, this one says, to see the light, I travel in darkness, which is, the same kind of, if you don't know pain, how do you know love? If you don't know, darkness, how do you know light? And they all relate to us as humans, right? Like trying to find enlightenment, and, love and light go together in my journey. So that's where, that's how it's kind of evolved into, here, writings about love.
I have a Hannya Mask on my shoulder, and it's kind of like, it's a protective demon. It's kind of like a guardian, so it's hopefully there. If anything bad comes my way, it'll help me, guard myself from it and kind of move through it.
I had a kid, and that's my son Nicholas, and this was his birthday. Because I like my tattoos to be private. I don't want everyone to know, like, oh, it's a date. because people don't know Roman numerals. It could be anything. So when they say like, oh, what does that tattoo mean? That was like one of the biggest days of my life, my son's birthday. And then I have to explain it, you know, so I don't right away know what the date. So that was that. Then I had my daughter after my other journey, and she was December 6, 2016, my other blessing.
So the one on my left shoulder is it's a skull, mostly what you see in the rose, and then it says board with life, but it's spelled B-O-A-R-D, and a lot of people think it's misspelled, but there is behind the skull a skateboard and a snowboard. I grew up skateboarding since I could walk, and I've snowboarded the same since I was 6. It's the two most things I'm most passionate about, except for my wife. So I wear that proudly, but always get a little looks here and there in judgment, but it's right. You just got to look a little deeper than what you see. So a guy that I used to work for, he's like a big old time like snowboard guy. He was like there when Jake Burton was first making snowboards up in, he was in New Hampshire, but he opened his first snowboard shop, and it was board with life. So I took and I worked with this guy for like 8 years. So I kind of like fell in love with him and the idea. I was like, can I get it tattooed on me? He's like, I'd love it. So then it just got worked in, so.
My ex-husband, so we got married and I got Journey and SATA at the same time. I did it as like a surprise a week after we got married. We're divorced now, but he's my best friend, so I'm really thankful that it's there, and the journey reminds me of like the journey that we all have to live, you know, so we get kicked down and you want to pick back up and just kind of like move forward.
Oh, we can talk about the Israeli guy.
Sure, we can talk about the Israeli.
And then we'll end it at that. I'm Italian, straight off, like Italian, Queens, New York. So I dated a guy who was Israeli, and we really liked each other. We had a great time, and he was like, well, you're gonna meet my family, but you can't tell them you're Catholic. And I'm like, well, I'm Catholic. So anyway, I got a big cross on my ankle, and I'm like, if you really love me or you want to be with me, you'll tell your parents I'm Catholic. So that's where my big cross comes from, to prove. It didn't work out anyway, but I married an Italian, so that was it.
I have a Dragon Ball on my chest.
Okay.
That was kind of because growing up as a kid, you know, Sunday morning cartoons, 8 in the morning, Dragon Ball, Yu-Gi-Oh, stuff like that, and I just really wanted it, you know. It was one of those things where I was like, you know what, let me get it, because that's part of my childhood, and I really just want it no matter what.
All my tattoos kind of then evolved into a spiritual journey for me, and I went to a sun, which is on my calf, and the sun is, you know, it's also a bit of tribal. This one was taken from kind of Indian Eskimo art, which not related to my culture, but just to the indigenous idea of that interpretation. And the sun, again, related to, you know, to my birth month, to my sun sign, to also, I mean, I love the sun. I surf, and I've been, you know, around the sun all my life. So
I have a Daruma and a lotus flower. Lotus flower is kind of like a good aesthetical piece, but the Daruma is, the story behind that is it's a wishing doll possessed by a demon in Japanese folklore. And so when it gets possessed, it fills one eye, and then you make a wish, and when that wish becomes true, the other eye fills in. So when I got the tattoo, I made a wish, and hopefully that does come true someday.
When I was in my journey, I read a book called The Power of Now. And the symbol here means to pause and to think things through and not to jump and react and jump into situations. So this means to pause.
We're all set here though? We're all done?